bad person. They're oppressed in a cult system, and we want to free them. We're all just humans with souls. What do you think the larger plan is, though, as this goes into high gear?
Well, I think that there's a dark, sinister force that understands the nature of this radical demon, first of all. And I think that it is manipulating it in a way. And you pointed out that, and I want to stress that too, because I've known really great people and they happen to be Muslim. We're talking about, if you look at numbers here, so radical Islam, those who practice radical Islam, it's only about 25%. That's what they're saying. Well, if there are 1 billion Muslims in the world and 25% of them are radicalized, that's more than our population. So we have a serious problem with
it's hundreds of millions.
Oh my God! So we've got a problem. That's our first thing. This dark, sinister force.
And that's who admits. Now they're up to 36%. 3%. As they get more confident, it's 10, 20, 30. It's like it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Think about the term 3%er though. 3% of those people stood up, and we came here to America. So you're telling me 25% are radical? That's way more.
3%
That's a lot of
founded
people.
America and kicked the crown's ass.
So with 25% radical Islam, that is out of control. That's a lot of people. And then you looked at the numbers
Islam
that Paul
is only probing, though. It's just like a kaiju attack, to use that analogy of that cheesy movie. It's true. Every attack's double. They're only probing in these first attacks, Joe. You experienced that in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, that's what they always do. They always want to find weak points. And the weak points are these pray for knees, pray for Paris, pray for this and that. Praying for somebody's not going to bring them back. Changing your profile picture is not going to bring back the dead. No, what you've done is you've taken the right away from the people to defend themselves, and now they are soft targets.
I want to say
and
that.
the radical Islamists see
that are allied with Islam and the globalists. You literally have aided and abetted these new murders. And I'm fighting to stop the drone attacks. I'm fighting to stop the wars. Our wars are to take out the Muslim groups that aren't radical.
Right.
Again, Margaret and Leanne?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So just taking this back to this, I can't leave you with this enough. So the Trojan horse aspect, I care about our country. I care about our civilization. I want to make sure that people within the sound of my voice understand that this is still within their power. And it's the understanding of what we're doing, what we're facing, and calling out this bullshit government for what it is and saying, you're not going to do this. You're not going to dump 2,000, 3,000 people in my community, not vetted, give them all of food stamp cards, put them up in housing, and then wait a couple of years and let's see this happen over and over and over and over. And people really need to take a stand and stand on their own ground and say, you are not doing this to our town. I think that's where I want to go with that, because honestly, it comes down to people saying no. You just have to.
Some German towns have like 100 people. They'll put 700 migrants in.
Yeah. And let them totally take over the town.
And I literally see a free woman walking around and just
people out of their own homes and say, we need to make room for all these
Syrian refugees in Philadelphia. It's out of control. There's tons of camps all over Amarillo.
Meanwhile, the State Department saying no 10,000, no 20,000. It's just such a masked lie.
And the president was so proud in September, tweeting out, well, we're going to be increasing the number of refugees we admit to the U.S. to 100,000 per year.
And again, remember 2-3 years ago, they said Germany was 100,000, was over 1 million.
Right.
They're all, it's the same scam, Joe.
We were laughed at when we were covering stuff at the border, talking about how prayer rugs were found.
Yeah.
And, all these different books, Korans and things like that. Like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. These kind of people aren't coming over.
Well, let me ask you
they're coming over by the southern border. They're coming over.
Why do you think Republican leadership with Obama is doing this? What's their end game?
They want more power. They want more money. A lot of these guys are in bed with Obama. A lot of them are allowing it. A lot of them want to keep their power. We have money in war. The more times we fight, the more war we have, the more fear we have, the more the Republican Party makes, the more that Obama makes. These people are all in bed together. Hopefully we can get someone like Donald Trump to stand up, rise up, and defeat the enemy and call it what it is. Because you know what? Radical Islam exists. I've said it. I will say it again, and I will die saying it. It exists.
Let's go further. Let's go further. There was a time, even a few years ago, I wouldn't even say radical Islam, because I was just trying to make everybody work together, and I don't want to go down this route. But this is clearly the globalist plan now. This is Orthodox Islam. This is what Saudi Arabia has done. It's what the globalists have done. This is taking Islam over. Whatever it was before. This is it. And it's here, and it's being brought in, and I'm not going to put a bag over my daughter's heads.
And we have people in America who are proudly going out, waving communist flags, burning the American flag, spitting on freedom, attacking liberty-loving Americans because they love the Constitution.
Do they realize how hellish communist countries are?
Oh, they have no idea, and they need to be given a one-way ticket there just to go take a little vacation.
Communists,
check it out.
Exactly, can't ever even make cars.
Right.
The Venezuelan government is in charge of food now. They just talked about that
The
today.
military,
the
right.
military and the government is over the food rations now in Venezuela.
And everything's collapsing.
That's what they want. They want that here in America.
And Bernie said Venezuela's the model, Margaret.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of a communist country, I lived in Russia myself, and they regulate, if they think that a group is a threat, they regulate them. They control them by putting into areas. It's not the, you know, they will accept, for example, I lived in Moscow. They would have Muslim areas, but they wouldn't allow them to put up mosques everywhere. They were very restricted, very contained. We don't do that. We've got an open policy here, and we're seeing the effects of that. I just want to say this in one point. Back to the burqa issue.
Yeah, take your time. Each one of you, everybody, take your time.
I really feel for these women, and I don't mean to attack. You know, I think that they're victimized by that stupid burqa. I think that it's such a victimization.
Well, there's Stockholm syndrome. A lot of them will say, oh, I want this. Well, yeah, because they kill you and you're a little girl, you need to put it on.
It's just, going back to the point of seeing that at the mall, it just makes me so physically ill. I want to rip it off is what I want to do. I'm so afraid that one of these days I am, and I'm actually.
And the weird, arrogant guy, like, they're always real arrogant, and they dress like real gangster now. They're like, yeah, me. It's just like, ugh.
There's videos of women in Saudi Arabia that are having their heads chopped off for not being covered to a man's liking.
Yeah, he saw
There's
their
no
ankles.
judge and jury. They walk out with a sword. They will stop traffic. The Saudi Arabian police will stop traffic and allow this man to drag his wife or whatever out of the car, pull out a sword, and chop their head off. And that's who Hillary Clinton wants to bring in.
Hillary, who gets her money, and Gloria Steinem to Saudi Arabia.
Well,
We should sign a petition to ship them out of here.
Yeah, let him go check it out. And let's not forget that it was the majority of moderate Muslims who agreed that you can lightly beat your wife, you know, or that beheading is an appropriate response.
What about extremely spoil them?
Yeah, I mean, you sound like an extremist right now. That's the Western civilization that they want to destroy. They want to see beautiful women inside black bags.
We're bringing people in. We're bringing people in and not making them assimilate.
Talk about Saudi Arabia. So you have a lot of people right now, whenever there's a terror attack, they always come out and say, oh, well, white people.
No wonder he wants women to be slaves. You think that son of a bitch can get women? I mean, look at that dumb bastard.
Hideous.
Look at those scumbags. I mean, those are a bunch of freakazoids, man.
That's why they have to take sex slaves.
Aloha snack bar.
Yeah, well, Saudi Arabia, okay, a lot of people right now in response to this attack, they're saying, well, if we're not going to pray for Nice until people pray for the Middle East and stop the empire from going there and destroying these countries. Well, Hillary Clinton, let's not forget that there was a chain of emails going around where she was saying, what a great Christmas present we gave Saudi Arabia during her time there at the State Department, gave them billions of dollars worth of weapons that they then used to go and do all of these airstrikes in Yemen, killing tons of innocent people, attacking hospitals, all these things. So she's funding Saudi Arabia, giving them, they're like one of the largest buyers of weapons that we manufacture here in the U.S.
Sure, not to mention
Paul
the Saudi
Joseph
Arabia's
Watson.
invasion of Syria.
Hey, Paul Joseph Watson just tweeted out he's got some information. The Nice terrorist is a Muslim from Tunisia. Image may shock. That is, or imagine it might shock. So that's what he just tweeted out. It's
and of course, I was going to guess Tunisia because that's what mainly Tunisia or Morocco if it's France. And then go a Frenchman born in Morocco.
I just got in a drive home from the airport from someone from Tunisia.
And again, a lot of these Muslims are actually heretics. They just want to be in freedom.
Right.
So there are a lot of them. I'm going to explain. It's the leaders that are bad. So
look at the Muslims that are here in America that agree with Sharia law, and yet we do not make them assimilate. They hate our ways. They hate what we stand for.
I've seen news articles where the Sharia family sexually mutilated their daughter, but it's okay. And the woman was beaten, but the police were told to stand down because it's their culture.
There was a sergeant first class in the U.S. Army Special Forces who stopped a man who was sexually assaulting this woman's boy. The woman came up to the Special Forces officer who was training and said, hey, my son was raped by one of the police officers that you guys are training over in Afghanistan. And he brought that up. When I was in Afghanistan, we saw that so many times, and we brought that information to the forefront. It was shot down by the State Department. Hillary Clinton released a letter, and I did a report on this a while back, released a letter saying, no, that's not rape. That's part of their culture. These are the kind of ideals she supports. She supports radical Islam. She supports the rape of these young boys they call the Bachabas. It is out of control.
It is out of control.
We have to assimilate to their culture of rape.
I got to say, the radio show during the day is powerful, but I think this particular, just up here at night, if I used to be a radio host at night, I'd love it. Everybody's awake. We're really being real. It's just like I mean, I'm real during the day, but it's like you're kind of the day. It's like, this is like, boom, we're just saying what we really think. I want to get final comments from whoever wants to comment. Margaret, Hal, Leanne McAdoo, Joe Biggs, anybody else in the crew. I don't care if it's Joe Jennings or Allie or whoever's up here at night working, and we're going to air what was going to be the nightly news after that.
Well, I know there was reports initially coming out of Sky News, BBC, saying that this was possibly retaliation for Brexit.
Now it's 80-something dead.
People don't drive trucks for a mile through crowds because of Brexit. There's only one group right now that is causing massive terror on a massive scale. We had people tweeting out, oh, well, Christians are killing people everywhere. No, they're not. No, they're not. Maybe thousands of years ago.
Weirdo leftist, man.
One group, and we have to call it what it is. We have to identify our enemy, and we can't allow them to cut off the communication because we are in an information war.
We got to call it Orthodox Islam. Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say that anybody looking at this who might not be a news junkie like we are, it's overwhelming, and I can only imagine. You just don't know what to do about all this information, and I just want to say be encouraged, because we're not where France is. We're not there yet, and we have a hope and a prayer. And honestly, this is not about bashing Muslim people for me. This is about identifying a radical extremist ideology.
Again, we even have to apologize. They just killed more people, and Facebook won't let us say who even did it, and we're even apologizing, which I do too.
It's a cancer that we're talking about here that needs to be uprooted before it takes over the whole body, and that's where we are. There is a Trojan horse that's entering our gates too, and honestly, it just. People, the biggest weapon that you have is not being afraid. I learned that myself. I used to be an apologist. I used to say, just everything. I didn't want to offend anybody. But the honest answer here is you cannot be afraid to confront this. And hopefully that's what we're doing tonight.
You're totally right. And I want to ask all of you this question on Joe Biggs. Is there any level of murder that the controlled left won't defend from Islam? Because it's like cult-like. I mean, I never really even bashed Islam because I was just trying to stop the destabilization. I was just trying to stop the globalist takeover to turn it into a weapon. They had like major movies. Who's the guy that does like Portlandia and all that? What's that famous comedian's name?
I'm not sure.
David Cross, I think. He has like
David Cross, yeah.
Movies where it goes, Alex Jones is an evil Islamophobe. And it's like, and he hates women. They always go, he hates women and Muslims. Like Muslims protect women. And so, and I pick up on this and I'm like, you know what? You're telling me that like you're afraid I'm going to do it. Let me look, It's just so weird. So is there any level? Because like, the German ministers and others get raped by Muslims. They blame it on Germans and admit that later. Is there nothing they won't put up with, Margaret?
In answer to your question, is there nothing they won't put up with? No, of course not. You can be raped in the streets. Your children can, God knows what. No, there's no level, and until there is that honesty, and you're absolutely right. It's an honesty. You've got to be honest with yourself and step out from behind the shadow. And it's a tough thing to do. And I commend anybody who does it. But if you take a stand against this, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to be labeled as a racist, as a bigot, as an Islamophobic. You're going to be outcast and shunned. But honestly,
well, I think it's good to be outcast from people that do this.
I mean, it is a do or die moment. That's what this is.
Yeah, we got to break with the brainwashing, because you're right. It's a cognitive dissonance point of learned helplessness, the Overton window, mass Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
Because where it's just like, if you accept this, there's nothing you won't put up with.
Right. Well, we're seeing that in Sweden, Germany, these other places where women are getting raped, children are getting raped, but it is happening here now. Was it in Ohio where the young girl was raped by young boys, and they're telling you, don't talk about it, or we're putting you in jail for daring to speak out about this. So it's already beginning to creep here, where they are telling us that we have to, don't offend the Muslims, don't offend this community, assimilate, this is their culture. No, this is our culture. This is our country.
Hands off Wonder Woman.
Here. And you're absolutely right. Like, we aren't there yet. We do have time to fight back against this. And it's time to stop being...
That was awesome.
What is it like, though? I mean, what is it like for you to see all the so-called leftist women that supposedly represent women defending this? Is that frustrating? Well,
one of the things that's kind of infuriating about Twitter, but I'm taking notes from Watson, and I'm just going for it rather than holding back. But if one person tweets out hashtag not all Muslims, like as soon as a terror attack, it's like, obviously, if it was all Muslims, we'd all be dead because there's billion Muslims, and we'd get that. But we need to understand that
Billion,
this
300
is,
million.
yeah, I mean, this is a real issue. This is happening here. It's creeping